Can your dusty old blog become your income replacement? Well, I did it, and so can you. So, as cheesy as that intro was, let's dig a little deeper into this. For the last 2 years, no, by now it's been 2.5 years actually, I've been working on my niche sites and blogs pretty much full time and have gotten them to really good spots. There's 5 in the pipeline, there's 2 or 3 that are doing really well, and then 2 super small ones. 2 of them are blogs or news sites that I started years ago and kind of just didn't work on them actively. I'm speaking from experience when I say you can dust those cobwebs off, wipe them down with some Windex, right? Make it shiny and new, and get them to a spot where they are thriving, bringing in healthy traffic from Google search, perhaps from social media as well, and earning you an income. Let's talk about my little zeros that became heroes. If I'm being 100% honest, the reason I returned to these particular blogs was because of emotional attachment. And maybe, I don't know. Let's see if you have the same thing in your mind that I have held for years. And if you do, after hearing me out, please do leave a comment if you've still kept working on sites or renewing domain names because you bought them at one time and have these dreams attached to them, this emotional attachment that you have with them, that one day they're going to be these thriving, successful blogs that bring in, an income for you. So years ago, when I didn't have much, I registered these 2 domains, set up blogs, and gave them the time and love and effort that I could while working 12-hour work days at a time when I was making minimum wage. At that time, I was learning SEO, and especially on-site SEO. And when I'd see small gains, I'd feel super encouraged. But the full-time job was taking up all of my time. Months down the road, I started finding myself too tired from that job to invest in my blogs. And, that's the story today for so many people. Not a story, not an excuse. I don't mean it as a negative thing. It is perfectly valid. There's only one of you, and it can feel very tiresome to work full time on other people's websites. Or maybe you're a full time mom or dad with young kids. There's a lot of energy going to those things. So it feels very hard to work on your own blogs or new sites, right? So I've definitely been there. And later on, when I started my own SEO agency, I became super busy with my client sites and making them a success. So I only had this much energy and time to spend on my own blogs. And that's if I wasn't burnt out from working on other people's sites. Now, thankfully, that little bit of effort that I was making led to one of those blogs making $1,000 per month. The way I was making money was through an email list I had set up, and I was recommending affiliate products, which is something I still do. It took about 2 years of on and off effort to get this blog there and to that point. And that was a tipping point for me because that $1,000 a month, it's not like I was actively sitting here and making transactions happen. They were happening while I was busting my butt on other people's sites. And it was like the easiest money in some sense that I've made. And it was only hard because I was having to work on it in my spare time when my energy was going on other people's blogs. I feel like it's not like there's technical challenges that stop people necessarily. It's more like not finding enough time or giving up when they don't see enough results or in a given time period that they've set out, unrealistic expectations and stuff. But anyways, so it did take a couple of years to even get it to $1,000 per month. But like I said, it was enough for me to have this epiphany. So going back, you can see why instead of registering 2 new domains, I had chosen to work on this site and another site that I already had, but sort of just let sit in the background. I recommitted to these niche blogs. So, anyways, why don't I talk about the things I did when I recommitted to these blogs that helped them to get to where they are? I'm going to discuss 5 important on-page SEO changes to make to old blog posts to make them your thriving stars of tomorrow. First things first, if you're dusting off your old blog, grab that Windex and a soft cloth, wipe off. That was like me playing with Windex. Wipe off the cobwebs and then implement the following. Number 1, delete old content that doesn't fit in with your new vision. Understandably, if these blogs were started years ago, you might find old content that no longer serves the blog. It could be because when you started these blogs, you had a different vision, or maybe your understanding of SEO and the topic on hand wasn't that deep. Or maybe, information changes and these articles just no longer serve your new vision. They're not going to serve your blog's audience. So you should go ahead, and I know, brace yourselves, you should go ahead and delete them. Even if those articles get a bit of traffic, but it doesn't fit with the vision of where you want to take this blog, let it go. Like I said, it might hurt your soul, but it's totally worth it. In fact, I did this massive content audit of deleting and updating old content, and that's on one of my thriving blogs that I just talked about. And delete the old content and make sure to implement redirects to better content on the blog. Number 2, update old content. Oh my God. Updating old content isn't fun, but it is extremely necessary. All right. So I feel like, we could talk about the last 4 years, Google has been unleashing update after update after update, and a lot of it has been targeting content, especially the helpful content update, and then on-site SEO. You can spot outdated content like you can spot a fly on a white wall. It can be super short, contain outdated information, doesn't read well, doesn't contain a proper keyword cluster. Maybe it's over optimized with a keyword. It screams at you in the form of giant walls of text. Maybe you didn't put enough images in there. I don't know. And if you're lucky, you'll read it and you won't cringe. If you know, looking at your content, right, if you can assess and you can make it better, add it to your list of content to be revamped. It needs to be done. Content that is only a few months old shouldn't need to be updated, but again, it depends on your industry, right? On the topic at hand. If you have a few blogs that are a few years old, then this could mean you might need to dedicate a few months to cleaning up old content and updating it to better serve your audience. The helpful content update, it targets, right? It targets the quality of your content. So it doesn't matter if you're publishing new, awesome content. It's also going to look at your old content that is crappy and then punish you for it, or your blog rather. And we don't want that. So update your old content. Number 3, explore missing content clusters. All right, y'all. So I used to think I was doing a thorough job with content clusters back in the day, but how wrong was I? As your SEO skills get better and as your understanding of the topic that the blog is about gets deeper, this job becomes a lot easier. So even though my skills are much more refined now, this doesn't mean that I was using these skills at the level I am now when I created these sites and when I was creating articles for them and doing keyword research and stuff. With older niche sites and blogs that contain less than 200 published articles, it's easy to comb over and find subtopics. Once you find these subtopics, you will quickly see if there are missing pieces. Okay, what I mean by that is if you have a site, a niche site that is all about tea, and there's only one article on matcha tea, maybe even two, three, four, whatever, you can easily find 10 to 20 pieces of content to write about matcha tea. Okay. So, what I'm trying to say is if you have subtopics that are only covered in one, two, or three, whatever the number, don't take that literally, right? When you find a subtopic, make sure that you are covering it thoroughly, not just leaving it at the mercy of, a low number of articles. And when you do that, you are completing content clusters. And that's a really good thing in Google's eyes. Once you find those missing pieces, plug them into your favorite keyword research tool and start digging for those golden keywords to match those content pieces so you can optimize those articles for those keywords. Now, if you don't know the magic of zero search keywords or long tail keywords or how easy they are to rank for, then make sure you take a look at the link I will put in the description below and make sure you check that out. All right, number 4, I kind of put this 2 in 1, but add more images and replace crappy quality images. Now, this hurt my heart, but when I looked at some of my old ass images, I did do a bit of a double take, and I'm not exaggerating. The first thing I noticed was that I wasn't breaking up the text enough. Maybe I was in a rush when creating this content. I don't know. It happens to all of us. Standards were different 5, 7 years ago, but, or maybe it's my weakening vision. I don't know. But I just see walls of text and I'm like, no, I don't want to read this. And that's a lot of people these days. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are breaking up these walls of text into digestible pieces of information. It's okay to have paragraphs that are 2 to 4 sentences, but then break it up with a relevant image so then the person doesn't feel overwhelmed and then they can go to the next set of information. So yeah. The next thing I noticed was, I'm gonna be frank here, the shitty quality of images that I had on that blog. All right, they were shitty. All right, and that's okay. They served whoever, whatever, the Google algorithm back in the day, but not anymore. All right, and I have pride. So now I have a subscription to Canva, and I will advise you that if you have your own images, that's the best route to go. And for some of these topics, I didn't have my own images, but Canva can be a great starting point. You can download pictures from Canva, you can kind of customize them and make them your own and use them in your articles. So bring your pride back and update those poor articles with proper images and add enough of them in there so people don't feel overwhelmed reading the content. Last but not least, publish new articles. Perhaps to start off your niche site in a moment of excitement. I do this every 6 months. I have an addiction to buying domains and setting up blogs. And yeah, so, anyways, a lot of times I find that people sort of just give up on their niche sites for one reason or another. Could have been time, it could have been just that they published 30 articles over 2 months and their little hearts hurt because they didn't see great rankings or just whatever payoff they were looking for. But I will say this, most people never publish a decent amount of content to start getting enough traffic onto their blogs. All right. So if you want a healthy income from your blog, you've got to get enough people visiting your blog. In the case of SEO, for it to pay off, you do have, depending on the niche, don't get me wrong, depending on the niche, and today versus 5 years ago versus 10 years ago, more people know about SEO, more people know about blogs. So there is more competition. But also, you need to have a sustainable long term plan that doesn't burn you out. Maybe you were so excited setting the site up that you decided to publish 50 articles in 50 days and burned yourself out. You have to have a realistic publishing goal for the long term. So, publish new articles. In summary, making a niche site or a blog into a successful one that gets hundreds of clicks and earns a full-time income. I mean, that might require thousands of clicks, depends on the niche, depends on the products, depends on how you've monetized your blog. You're going to need to do a bit of work here. It is very doable. Anyways, I hope this inspires and motivates you to blog your heart out, get your dreams going, and come join me in the Affiliate Phoenix Facebook community group and ask questions. With that said, I am building out a new site and I will be sharing all of that in the Affiliate Phoenix Facebook group. I'll drop the link in the description. See you next time.